So timelines is a pretty common, popular way to review a lot of material in, a certain time period. So you can do this in a bunch of different ways. You can get some paper, and just like chart a different time period that you want to cover. You could get a whiteboard like this and then make it bigger, go crazy. You could even get some chalk. Buy some chalk. There's some like cheap, chalk stuff at like an art store or even like a Target. Get some chalk. Do it on the sidewalk. Do it on your driveway. You could do this massive timeline of all of your entire course, right? Do it with a friend. Do it with a group. Do it in class. So once you have your timeline, you want to make sure that you use the, the, the time periods that College Board identifies. Okay, so you want to make sure that you can look at a time period and brainstorm and know what's involved in that time period. And then you can do this a bunch of different ways. You could just chart all the important things that happen in that time period. You could just put all the important dates that you need to know. In this time period, maybe we're looking at, like a Reconstruction time, amendments, or, labor union, whatever. You can look at, you could chart all the important events that you need to know. Or you could chart all the important presidents that you need to know, all the important people that you need to know. You could also just use the themes, right? You could make a social timeline, a political timeline, whatever. You can make this however you want to look at things. It's really useful to do this kind of thing because the prompts on the test, they're most likely going to look at one theme and one time period. So if you can use the themes of your course, right, which I've posted in a different module, use the themes of your course and then use the time periods of your course and just chart what is it that happens in that time period, right? How can we look at this time period just with the lens of one theme? That will kind of help you keep things focused so that, especially if you're looking at like the 20th century, for example, those time periods are going to get really crowded. So to kind of help you, instead of making one giant 20th century timeline, you could make several smaller 20th century timelines. And then, maybe just save like the chalk version for like a big one. Make one big one that includes all of them together. So this is some ways that you could use timelines. I really recommend it. This is something that I use when I go over things with students during like cram sessions and after school reviews, because it's a really good way to kind of like brainstorm everything you remember in that time period, but also see it in order, right? You don't necessarily have to remember all the dates for every event, but you should know the order that they happen so that you can identify cause and effect, right? You need to know that the Civil War happened before Reconstruction, things like that. So test out timelines. Feel free to tweet me at whatever you got so I can see what you're doing and let you know how it's going.